You now have data that should allow you to answer your research question. It wasn't easy, but you did it, so well done. So you're ready to move to the next step? Well, not so fast. Before you start playing with your data, we need to make sure it is entered well in an Excel file. It is important to make sure that the way the information is displayed in Excel makes your statistical analyses easier. Sidebar: I use the SPSS software to run all of my statistical analyses. I find it a bit easier and quite powerful, but it is quite expensive. But you don't have to spend a few hundreds of dollars on it. You can access it for free at most colleges. If you want to learn more about SPSS, there are a number of free tutorials online, and you can also ask your project supervisor. But even though this is a crucial step, don't put too much pressure on your shoulder, because even if you don't do this step right, you can always go back and fix it. However, it's never fun to have to go back when your mind is probably already set on your statistical analyses. So I hope that this video will help. Let's look at an example. Imagine that we are doing a study on the impact of engagement on students' performance, and part of our questionnaire includes the following questions and answer formats. There are two ways to enter the data in Excel, and both ways involve entering the answers each participant gave. In my example here, each column represents the different questions on my questionnaire, except for the first column, which represents the participant's number. Each row, on the other hand, corresponds to a different participant. For example, row number 3 includes the value that participant 1, a female age 17, gave. Pretty simple, right? Who said that doing research was hard? This is where the fun starts. Because statistical analyses don't like words, you have to convert them into numbers. Basically, we have to codify our categories. To do so, you have to choose between option 1 or 2. For this option, you go back to your questionnaire and determine which code you want to give each category. For example, anyone who is a female will be given a code of 1, while males will be given a code of 2. For the question on engagement, I will use code from 1 to 5. All of this is arbitrary but necessary. Once you are done coding your categories, make sure to save the file with all the codes, as you will really need it later. Remember that only categories with words need to be coded. Questions where answers are already numerical, like "How old are you?" don't need to be codified. Once this is done, you can enter the numbers in your Excel file. To do so, I like to create new columns. You don't have to create new columns if you don't want to, but for me, the more information I include in my database, the easiest it becomes to determine where mistakes were made when I entered my data. Then, you just enter the coded score for each participant as shown in columns K to P. This option works quite well when you only have a few participants, but can become quite time-consuming when you have many. For this option, I will use the if function of Excel to codify my categories. What? You've never heard of the if function in Excel? Well, neither did I before I started supervising MTP students. Let's look at an example using the variable sex. This variable has two categories, female and male, and therefore will have two codes, 1 and 2. Next, I will put my cursor in the first cell of my coded variable, which I call sex_C, to show it as the coded version of the variable. I can then write the if formula. Like for any Excel formula, it needs to start with an equal sign followed by a function we wish to use. In our case, it is the if function. Next, we open a bracket and we enter the first data we want to code. So we can start with cell C3 because it is where the sex of our first participant is found. We then tell Excel that if our participant is a female, we give her a code of 1, and if he is a male, we will give him a code of 2. We can finally hit enter, and the code 1 will appear as our participant is a female. You can then select the same cell, click on the little square at the bottom of the right corner and drag it all the way down to the last participant, you will see all the codes appear. And that's it. We have done it. I know it's a lot, but don't hesitate to rewind this video and watch the last 30 seconds again. The quotation marks and the brackets makes it seem more confusing, but really there's a pattern there. Quotation marks are used to highlight the category of answers, while brackets are used every time we introduce a new code. So take a few seconds to process this information. Now, let's practice one more time with the variable engagement in large group discussions. But before we start, a reminder about the codes we'll use. After placing my cursor in the right spot, I can start typing my formula to tell Excel that I wanted to code the value found in cell E3 because it is the score of our first participant. I will then write down the codes we just saw for each category. Because there are 5 codes to write, the formula is longer, but the pattern is the same. So just remember our little trick. There are 5 sets of quotation marks because we have 5 categories. And we have 5 sets of brackets because we need 5 codes for our categories. All we have left to do is drag our formula all the way down to the last participant. Oof, there was a lot of information in this one, but you made it through. Well done. And keep in mind that it will get easier with time. Also, keep in mind that option 1 seems easier, but if you have a lot of participants, it will take you quite a bit of time to enter your data. Also, if you don't remember any of these steps, it's not the end of the world. Worst comes to worst, you will start your data analyses, realize that something is wrong, and you'll have to watch this video again. So, thanks for listening.